Hello, I'm Dr. Jenny Andrus, and welcome to Joint Ventures, an OSC original podcast. We're here to explore the hot topics in musculoskeletal medicine. And a question I get routinely from patients is, when is the right time to look at assisted living? That decision's tough. It has a lot of moving parts. The finances, the social aspects, downsizing, proximity to family, evolving health issues. And what is the right level of care at the right time? As a doctor, I can give people advice on what I think they can and can't handle physically. But just like most of you, I have a lot to learn about the nuts and bolts of assisted living. That's why I'm so excited today to be joined by Emily Barkus, Director of Marketing and Admissions at Minnewood Retirement Community here in Newport News. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, I have a ton of questions. I'm going to have to use this so I don't forget. But before we get going, tell our listeners a little bit about you and your facility.
Well, I do the marketing and admissions for Minnewood, so I meet the families and kind of walk them through this process. Answer these questions for them too. But we have been around for, actually it's our 40th anniversary in May. So we've been around for a while and have strong ties to the Minnewood. Actually comes from the Mennonite community, donated the land. So it's pretty neat, kind of very rich history here.
And what level of care do you guys provide?
Up to memory care, so independent, assisted, and memory care.
Oh, okay, great. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about that when it comes to levels of care, okay?
Yes.
Because people will say to me they need to go to assisted living who are completely independent and maybe just need some help around the house. And then people will also say they need to go to assisted living to me who are wheelchair bound and not doing very much for themselves. So Can you describe to us what the levels of care are so our listeners can have an idea of what they would be appropriate for?
Sure. I also feel like this is a lot of common misconceptions with this too. So this is a good one. Independent living, we generally see people that are struggling to kind of maintain their yard. Maybe cooking has become kind of a chore where they're not necessarily getting the right nutrition because they don't want to cook for themselves. A lot of times we'll have to, help navigate someone who's doesn't really maybe have a lot of support. And so that's why they're not able to have someone to take them to the grocery store. And small things what sounds like small to us is really big to them and obstacles to their day-to-day living. So independent living is no actual care from our care team, but they are getting kind of the amenities from the building. So we're cooking, we're doing the housekeeping, all the utilities, things like that. So it's just kind of an easier process.
So is that sort of like I live in an apartment, but someone takes care of the upkeep and the food?
Kind of like that, yes. Very similar. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we're going on from there. What's next?
To assisted living. So assisted living, of course, has a specialized care plan. So when we're looking at someone who maybe they're not taking their medications the way they should, maybe they're struggling to, and I think this is probably where you see some of this, are they struggling to get in and out of the shower because they can't step over that tub? Are they sleeping on the couch because they can't go up the stairs to their bedroom? Are they maybe not doing their hygiene, brushing the teeth and changing clothes how they should because it's difficult? So a lot of those, once again, while it sounds small to us because we're so able-bodied, it is an obstacle for them. So those are all things that we help with assisted living, but that's also a wide range because it's so specialized to the person with what we're helping with. Are we getting them up in the morning? Are we getting them dressed? What are we doing for them each day? Then we go to memory care. Memory care is, it's a little bit different because it is still considered assisted living, but it's for safety. It's a locked unit. So when we're talking about someone who's exit seeking, they think they're going to walk out on Warwick Boulevard and go to the store, but they don't quite know where they're going. Do we have someone who thinks taking their rollator down the stairs is safe because they don't recognize that that's not safe? Or even executive functioning. If I get in the elevator, am I going to forget I need to press a button to make it work? And then I've locked myself in the elevator because I don't realize I need to press a button. So that one I think is a big one because dementia is so multifaceted and the trajectory is so different for each person. that one is kind of a fine line. And I find most people struggle to understand what that really looks like. So memory care is truly when there is a safety concern. Or, sometimes we'll even see people that are withdrawing because they can't keep up with a conversation or activities, and they need constant cueing to do just their day-to-day things because they don't remember what comes next and what they're supposed to be doing. So that would be memory care.
Okay. So prior to that memory care stage, if someone is in independent or assisted living, can a husband and wife stay together in that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Throughout that whole process?
We do. We actually have had quite a few that kind of go through the building as needed. And yes, there's a lot of support kind of through that, but they're still able to, even if they do have one loved one up on memory care, they're still able to be quite close and spend time together and bring them down for things and meals together. So yeah, it works out.
And what would be the difference? Because you see all the time on the highway a sign for the newest 55 and up community.
Right.
So what does that entail versus independent or assisted living?
I think because I think those are great depending on what you're looking for. Kind of like when you're looking for a house. Are you looking for something that you're going to grow into and stay in? Or are you looking for something that kind of meets all of these? It's close to the funnest this, it has that. So I think that's kind of a personal choice. And do you want to make that move again? Or do you want to be able to go to a community and it's kind of one-stop shop for your care needs?
Okay, that makes sense. So once a person kind of gets an idea what level of care they need, how do they start researching facilities and figuring out what the right place is for them?
It depends on your time and how much time you can put into that process. It's not an easy one. There is a lot of information. There are definitely senior advisors that we work with that are so knowledgeable in the industry that they can kind of go through, these are your needs. I would check these places. These places have that availability. They can do this for you. So I think that would be a good one if maybe you're working full time and you're looking for mom and you don't have the time to really dedicate to delving into that yourself. That's a really good resource. We definitely work with a lot of them because they know exactly what our criteria is and what the process is for the families. And I think they're realistic about expectations.
And how does someone link up with them?
So good old Google will give you quite a few.
Google.
Good old Google, yeah. I think a lot of times I will refer out if someone doesn't know where to start and they're just overwhelmed by the process. I have referred out. I know a lot of times, depending on where they are, a lot of like agency on aging, things like that will have a list. So I would say kind of wherever you at, just doctor's offices. Anybody will kind of be able to have a list. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So if a person gets an idea, okay, now I'm going to check out these top 3, what should they be looking for in a tour? Or what are the different aspects of a facility that might be attractive to someone?
I think this is a personal choice too. I think there are lots of things to consider when you're looking around, and you're also usually, I would say, mostly work with the family. So they're looking for someone, which makes it harder. What are they going to like? What are they going to enjoy? So I think the activities are great. The amenities are great. How the building looks and the food, those are all great. I also suggest that resident coming in to see if they like those things. Once they've narrowed places down, bring them in to see if they like the food, if they like the activities and atmosphere. I would say staffing is the biggest question I would ask, because you're looking at, this is the person that's taking care of them and waking them up in the morning and tucking them into bed at night. This is the person who knows how they like their coffee and what's normal for them. And when they're having a bad day, it might be this. Or I think when you're thinking of someplace that's home, because that's what we call ourselves, you're looking for that continuity of care. And I think the staffing is 100% how you get that. If it's the same people, and thankfully we've had a lot of the same staff for decades. So the families even know when they're coming in, they know who's on their floor. They know who's taking care of mom each day. And I think that's a huge A huge thing I would ask, because a lot of places, I mean, the health industry, it was hit very hard with COVID, and I think it's been hard to kind of have consistent care a lot of places. So that's 100%. And then I think another one is how they kind of help the transition for a new resident, because that's a lot of my job, truthfully, but it's the whole process is huge. And while I do this every day for the past, umpteen years, this is the first time they've done this and had to go through this. So what kind of support is available for them through this, so that they're getting to the activities, they're getting acclimated, things like that. So those are the two I'd ask.
Okay. No, those are all great. So, okay, unfortunately, finances are going to be a consideration for most people.
Yeah.
Okay. And in researching this, I saw mainly it was like kind of get your budget together and that kind of thing. What kind of information do people need to start getting together? Because I would assume when you say families are oftentimes looking, now I'm thinking for myself, I'd have to be like, Mom, okay, I know nothing about your finances. Like, now we have to have that conversation. How do they start? What do they look for?
I would say a good place to start is by looking at what you're already spending. A lot of times we're getting someone who's already paying for other people or other services to help kind of patch together some of those things. There is sticker shock. It's not cheap. Nothing is now, but it's certainly not cheap. And I think that will reframe when you're looking at something. Most places are pretty inclusive with the pricing. So when you're looking at that number, I don't think it's as hard to see when you're thinking of a mortgage and groceries and all of these other things you're currently paying for. So I would personally start there and kind of see what you're already spending month to month, because that's going to give you an idea of what you can afford, but what you're already, I think it's a realistic approach to going to communities that are taking care of these things. Sorry, that's where it starts.
So what other things would you recommend that people consider in their budget? So your mortgage or your rent, utilities, that kind of thing. I would think in food, but what about medical or entertainment, or what types of things should they look to hopefully be inclusive in their assisted living facility?
I will be honest, we made it nice and easy where everything's included.
Well, that's nice.
Except for, a level of care, of course, would adjust as needed. But I think just being upfront about, well, what is not included, so that, are these things I would have to purchase separately? Is this something I'd be interested in? So a lot of times, like, places have buses. If they use the bus, is that a charge? So I would probably ask what is not included first, because that's going to give you your a la carte menu of things that you may have to add later.
Now, do many places include medical care? I hear some of my patients will tell me, they have physical therapy on site or that kind of thing. And is that typically something that's budgeted in, or is that additional?
Separate. I know for us, we do utilize like a visiting physician, and we do have physical therapy on site. Most communities do. I think, and this is an assumption, but I feel pretty safe in saying that it's kind of a third party. So usually run through insurance the exact same way as going to a doctor would be.
Okay, that makes it kind of easy. So with the idea of continuity of care, and then people may transition, how does that happen? Who makes that decision? And what does that process look like for people?
I feel like if we're meeting somebody for the first time, usually the physician or the family has said, hey, Mom has had a lot of falls, or we're starting to notice this. The doctor says it's time. If it's somebody like from our independent living, it's usually a culmination of, hey, we're noticing something's not quite right. We're getting a little concerned. So I would say mostly physician. Family is usually a big one after that too.
Okay. And what about the concept of aging in place? That popped up in my research too. And how does that look versus assisted living, and how does someone decide which they would rather do?
I think that's another personal choice of when it's time, because I think the goal is to stay at home. Like, I know that. My feelings aren't hurt. I know that. We're kind of for when that's not the best. Are you having people constantly canceling on you, and these people are supposed to help you with your what we call ADLs, or your showers and getting you dressed? Are you having a hard time having the support to get your day-to-day done? If some people are able to have like a lot of family members and someone checks in the morning, someone checks in the evening, then, it makes sense and we understand that. But a lot of times it kind of comes down to when there's not enough kind of support to be doing that day in and day out, because that's true. I mean, that's what we're there for. We're 3 shifts of workers to do all of that. So I would say safety is always going to be the biggest one. When are we having a lot of falls? Do we have an injury? Do we have something that maybe, your daughter can't be here 24/7 with you because she's got all of these things on her own plate? So kind of at that time, I think, is probably the best.
And it's interesting that you mentioned people canceling on you. I hear from patients oftentimes that they have an agency and someone's supposed to be coming out and they actually really won't help me, or they'll say, well, I can't touch that because of some rule or whatever, or they spend most of their time on their phone. And so I do think when people need a higher level of care, it's nice to have that staff that's always there, that's well-trained and that knows you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that helps too with that concept of someone new coming into your home all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's disconcerting to a lot of people.
Transients. Yes, I hear a lot of people have kind of mentioned, well, they were having so many new sitters, or this person ended up making this mistake or left them alone for this, and this happened. And that's actually a pretty common phone call I will get. So I do think that, once again, that continuity of care, having that staff that wakes them up in the morning and tucks them in at night.
Right.
It makes it nice to know that they're taken care of.
It's more like home.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what questions did I not answer, or things that you think that I should know as a doctor to help people through this process?
That's a good question. Like I said, so much of this process is quite personal. I think the biggest one I see, people wait a little too long to have this conversation, because I've already had it with my family. Once again, sorry, Mom. They don't love it. But I think having the conversation and being realistic before you need it is so helpful. I have someone he came to me about 5 years ago to do a tour. He's on my wait list, and he tells me a joke every time I call, because he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm still good, but I'll catch you when I need something. So I think having this conversation and touring places and getting an idea of what you want before it's an emergency, or you're kind of stuck somewhere that had an opening, because, I think it helps prepare them for if or when, without it being so much pressure on everybody at a time that already has a lot going on. So yeah, have a conversation now. It kind of takes the pressure off of it, and them deciding, would Mom want this or that? I think that makes it a whole lot easier to do before you need to.
That's great advice, actually. So how do people learn more about Miniwood? How should they look you up or get more information?
Call me. Yeah, I have a lot of people that actually just stop in, and that's completely fine. I think calling, a lot of people, I think, worry that I'm going to bug them afterwards. I promise I won't. But I think it's a good idea to, like I said, understand kind of what this process looks like. And it's just all knowledge and what they'll like, and maybe even become a part. We have some residents that come to events before they move in, and they already get to know people.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I always suggest it. So yeah, call us, visit our website.
It's like sorority, fraternity rush.
Pretty much, yeah.
Go hang out and make sure that you like them first.
Absolutely,
That's a great idea. Thank you so much for all of that great information. There is so much to consider in this decision. My dad passed away less than a year ago. My mom is now living alone in the country with a lot of yard to maintain, and she is, quite frankly, a musculoskeletal mess. Mom, please don't kill me. You know I'm speaking the truth. So now she's really doing a great job, okay? But she's getting to the back end of her 70s. So we have to hit on this conversation a bit. I feel much better prepared after today to start this process if the time comes after talking to you. I really am grateful for the information. please share this podcast with someone who could use it. If you learned something, please rate us. Until next time, wishing you good health and see you soon. Bye-bye.
At Orthopedic and Spine Center, we're dedicated to providing the highest quality treatment using the most advanced technology available. Our fellowship-trained spine and interventional pain management physicians specialize in diagnosing painful conditions and offer minimally invasive interventions to complex spine surgeries. Our pain psychologist helps patients understand and reduce stress from chronic pain conditions. Our experienced physicians get you back to doing what you love. Call today for an appointment. Experience excellence at Orthopedic and Spine Center.